forget all you know about podcasts. We welcome you to an experience uniquely different. Please join us for our coverage of all entertainment on the fringe of society. The candles are lit, the lights are down low. It is now time to welcome our host as he steps up to the pulpit. The sacrifice has been prepared for the midnight black mass.
The government may be shut down, but fortunately for you, the devil rarely takes a holiday. Ghastly greetings, my groovy ghoulies and all the members of the Rejects Army. It is the Reverend Dan Wilson, the maniacal minister of the occult, here for another edition of the Midnight Black Mass. Thank you for the outpouring of response and support in regards to the Tank Wildside Chronicles that aired over the last 2 weeks in 2 parts. And we're back with a man who was considered his greatest opponent by many and his greatest tag team partner by many as well. And the No Pain Train, the being of inconceivable horror, a man who during the Wildside years weighed in right around 600 pounds. The one and only Iceberg, one of the true legends of Wildside wrestling, and a guy, a lot of experience, been a lot of places all over the world, has a lot of stories to tell. Part 1 of what looks to be right now a 3-part Wildside Chronicles with Iceberg is your feature segment tonight on the show, and that's really going to make up the majority of the show. Each of these is about 45 minutes apiece, and so interesting. The government is shut down. Anarchy in the streets, bedlam, chaos. No, not really. Just a bunch of old white guys arguing in Washington, as it seems to have been the case for quite a while now. Really ineffective. I honestly, given that the government shut down and then they're also running up on the debt ceiling and preaching fire and brimstone and doom and gloom regarding that, given the drastic impact to the world economy, I really don't see them going into default as they're stating. But seriously, not to make light of it. A lot of people did lose their jobs, or at least aren't getting paid right now. A lot of servicemen's pay were delayed. A lot of people that didn't have a damn thing to do with this government shutdown are really some of the ones being hit the hardest. National parks are closed. A lot of the main functions are still going, though, of course, the longer it lasts, I imagine the more we'll see things cut. So, as usual, Washington fails and disappoints the American people. Not really a surprise there. That's why I'm not a political guy. That's why I don't buy into the Democrat-Republican thing. It's just not my bag. If I align myself with a political party, I'd say like libertarian, just because I agree with most of their things, but even stuff that is on their platform that I don't believe in, and in some cases strongly don't believe in. So, I just think like the hardcore Democrat guys are at their worst just whiny idiots, and the Republicans at their worst are abrasive dickheads. And so if you have whiny idiots and abrasive dickheads, then eventually they're just going to switch places, and it's really not much of a difference. Just how really they approach a problem, and apparently that's what's happened. So hopefully they get their heads out of their asses and people start getting paid again, more importantly. But no chaos or bedlam in the streets. It's really pretty much business as usual, other than the poor unfortunate people whose life is getting messed up because of this, who again were just the workers, not the people that had anything to do with it. Always just, I don't know, I don't want to go on any kind of political rant. Like I said, I'm not a political guy. I think the whole thing kind of reeks of hypocrisy. I think, just common sense really dictates that any leadership or government or kingdom or what the fuck have you. A sharing of ideas is what's going to make the world go round. It's not two extremes just playing Nana Boo Boo against each other, essentially, and that's all I see. But anyway, on from that. Like I said, they might shut down, but the devil don't take no holiday. We're here back with another edition of the show. What's been going on with me? I've been involved with the Six Flags Fright Fest Monstrosity Championship Wrestling in Atlanta, Georgia. Empire Wrestling in Rossville, Georgia last Saturday night was a big deal. Tank beat Jason Hampton in a defense gearing up for his big title defense on November 2nd. And we found out that he'll be facing the winner of the Chasing the Grail tournament, the Temptation Sean Tempers, coming up on November 2nd at Chasing the Grail for Empire Wrestling. Tank and I were interviewed by our local CBS affiliate WDEF out of Chattanooga, Tennessee for the local news. And we'll be appearing, as I record this, tomorrow night, which will be Thursday, October the 10th. By the time this airs, that should still be the case. This should go up tonight with all intentions in any event. So look for us on the news. I not to cut a little brief spiel about Tank and what he's capable of and why you ought to pay a ticket to come see him and argue with me. I'm always game for a debate. But really, something that it's kind of paged me to report also came out of that Empire card. Rufus Black, first of all, victorious against a tough guy named Dyron Flynn. But during the bout, he actually broke his ankle. And we didn't really know the extent of the injuries, but we just got the report back from his physician and the x-rays and the MRIs. Definitely broken. Rufus Black's going to be out of action 6 to 8 weeks. So hit me up on Dragon's Reject or on Twitter at Dragon's Rejects with your get well messages to Rufus, and I'll be sure to let him know. But that's a big member of the Rejects Army going down, and at least, I'm glad that we're in this championship hunt thing and not in some kind of war where we might be crippled, but it certainly takes a big piss all over our championship goals. But, I've always got a few irons in the fire, so I wouldn't count us out of that tag team picture just yet, baby. Again, I'll be contributing to the upcoming autobiography of the phenomenal AJ Styles, which you can check out. The news and updates on how that's going at VIP Inc. with a K Publishing.com. And like Bret Hart and Jerry Jarrett, Kurt Angle, and a who's who of wrestling. Somehow I made it into the list as well. And so you definitely want to check that out. I told the story of AJ's origin and how the phenomenal nickname came to be, which I coined. And I don't know how much of it made it into the book, but we'll find out. But it's definitely going to be in there, at least partially, from what I'm told. So, definitely want to check out pottyhumor.com, the website that you're listening to this. If you maybe stumbled upon us on YouTube, this all originates from pottyhumor.com, which is a website that hosts both the Midnight Black Mass and the Get Your Pulse Comic Cast, and maybe even more shows coming down the pike. We had a couple of different folks that talked about wanting to come on, and it never came to be. They didn't have the gumption to get it out there, I guess. But maybe we'll find someone who does. If their content fits, then they may join the family. But right now, we're still going strong with two Get Your Pulls in its 68th episode coming out this week. So if you're into the comic book thing, that's all we talk about on that show. Lots of spoilers. It's for the up-to-date comic fan. It's kind of water cooler talk about what we try to do is replicate what you would do if you're hanging out at your local comic store at the counter and talking shop, so to speak. So check out Get Your Pulls also on pottyhumor.com. I'll return with the Devil's Rejects, the Strong Style Psycho Tank specifically, to Six Flags Fright Fest this Saturday, October the 12th. Also returning to Rossville, Georgia, but in a joint card called Pro Wrestling Rossville. That'll involve Empire Wrestling, Deep Southern Wrestling, and a few other promotions. It's a fundraiser for the Rossville Athletic Department, the Youth League. So that should be interesting, should be fun. Going to be a big main event of Tank versus Cyrus the Destroyer. A match a lot of fans at Empire hope to see before Cyrus had second thoughts. So hope he don't have second thoughts again. We'll be there. If he don't show up, then that's on him. Also, just wanted to get a quick plug before we go to a brief break here and come back with the Iceberg interview. My buddy, a former guest of the show, Gideon Smith of Gideon Smith and the Dixie Damned, a guy who's been plugging away for the last couple of decades in the doom metal, southern hard rock, however you want to call it or classify it, and has really built an international following and has done it all independently through small record labels, and as just impresses me constantly. He's a very wise guy. He's one of my favorite people to just talk to and pick his brain. But besides all of that, actually, a movie is being made on his life. I've talked about it on some of the previous episodes. We even had the producer and the guy behind it, Peter G. Donald, who was the co-creator of Cops and America's Most Wanted, doing a movie about Gideon Smith's life story and kind of how he did a DIY career and was one of rock and roll's true outlaws in an era when they said those types of people were gone. They're calling it a mix between the wrestler and easy rider. It's going to be called Warrior Spirit, the story of Gideon Smith, and production is currently underway on that in Charlotte, North Carolina. Just wish him the best of luck with that. Can't say much more at the moment, but you definitely need to check it out. He's got 2 websites where you can follow the news: Facebook.com/Gideon Smith Movie and GideonSmithMovie.com. All right, well, we're going to get out of here with another little plug for Get Your Pulls, and then we'll be right back with our feature interview with the No Pain Train, the being of inconceivable horror, the harbinger of sorrow, Iceberg. Don't go anywhere.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Midnight Black Mass. It is I, the Reverend Dan Wilson, here for a late-night recording session, as only it should be. I tell you, if I called 1,000 matches as the play-by-play announcer at NWA Wildside, this man was probably part of 500 of them. He's one of the true legends of Wildside. Also made appearances in Ring of Honor, TNA, Japan, Puerto Rico. I was a student of Abdullah The Butcher, and is also a dear friend of mine. And it's my pleasure to welcome the No Pain Train, the harbinger of sorrow, one of wrestling's only serial killers, Iceberg, to the Midnight Black Mass. Thank you for joining the show, my brother.
Thank you for having me on, Rev. How's it going?
Oh, man, it's going fantastic. The cool autumn crisp air feels good. Recording this outside here at the compound. What are you doing this evening?
Oh, man, sitting by the riverbank on the other end of the compound, enjoying this nice weather, having a cold drink, you know what I mean?
Hey, man, that sounds wonderful. Seems like you're enjoying life lately. I've seen some of your Facebook posts and stuff. You seem to be in a good place, man, and I'm glad to hear that.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. Yeah, life's good right now, brother. Life's real good.
Outstanding, man, outstanding. Well, this is a podcast about life, about wrestling, about lots of things. But tonight we're focusing on Wildside. We do a little thing called the Wildside Chronicles here, where we're continuing to recap the history from the perspective of the men that lived it, from this promotion that spawned so many great talents, so many main eventers today. You were certainly one of the top stars of Wildside, and we'll get to that. But let's take it all the way back. What first struck a chord with you about professional wrestling as a child that made you think this is something I wanted to dedicate my life to?
I tell you, man, my parents were avid viewers of Jim Crockett's. Actually, before Crockett, it was the old Georgia Championship Wrestling. So I grew up on Gordon Soley, and one of my first actual, like, what drew me in experiences was seeing like Dusty Rhodes and Abdullah just bloody as hell. You know what I'm saying? Just like, for whatever reason, as a 4 or 5 year old kid, that shit just drew me right in. And I was hooked, man. I was like, this is something that, like, I can see myself doing at some point, you know. And that's as a kid, man, you know. Seeing some old bloody you know what I mean? Like, most kids would run from it, and I was drawn to it.
Yeah, absolutely. You would see, like, the magazine covers. I remember really getting me, you know. The magazine covers were, like you said, Abdullah and Dusty, just that full crimson mask. And you think, what the hell is this wrestling shit all about?
That's right, man. I promise you, my fucking walls were covered with those, you know, with the pullouts and shit from those magazines.
Oh, hell yeah. So you grew up, you live in Thomaston, in that area, Thomaston, Georgia, which is in the southern part of the state. Is that where you grew up and you stayed there, kind of centralized your whole life?
Yep, born and raised, man. Still here.
Yeah. Awesome. That's kind of me, like in Sunny Daisy, Tennessee. That's where the Compound Seeker location is on this end. And
that's right.
It's you know, I've done a lot of traveling, been a lot of places, but I always like to stay centralized out of here. It's nice to be able to stay home. And in the world of information and communication, you can do that more nowadays. But so you fell in love with wrestling. You got the itch. The bug bit you, and you had to, and you had to do something with it, right? So you decide you want to break into the business. How does a young man in Thomaston, Georgia, named Iceberg, before named Iceberg, just named Eddie, before Iceberg ever come along, how does he become a professional wrestler?
Honest to God, man, woke up one Sunday morning, bored as shit out of my mind, and I had a buddy of mine that was, like, he knew a couple of guys that were in the business, and I just called him up, and I was like, what are you doing today? He said, I'm going over here, these guys are training, and, I'm going to go over and hang out and see if I can't learn something. I said, well, come pick me up. I think I want to do this shit. So that's just kind of how it happened. You know, wake up one fucking day and, made a life-altering decision, and that's where it went.
I see. And it was Murder One that trained you originally, is that correct?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
And
I give that
any thoughts on that process?
Oh, man, let me tell you something. He beat the shit out of me, and it wasn't just me. It was me and a 14-year-old Jimmy Rave, Rain Man, Kory Chavis, and a couple other guys, man, that didn't really stick around it. But we would go up to Marietta, Georgia on, like, Saturday mornings, and we would train for a couple hours. Then we'd break the ring down and carry it over to the armory, set it up, get the building set up, and, they'd do the shows or whatever. And at the end of the night, we'd tear the ring down, take it back across town and set it up that night so that the next morning we'd get up, 8, 9 o'clock and train from then till 6 or 7 in the afternoon before we had to drive back to Thomaston.
And you, after that, you started making a name for yourself well before you even got to Wildside. I'd heard of you, certainly had respected you. And I know you'd come to Wildside and done a couple of shots underneath, but before you came in and got the real push, but you were still, like, you were making headlines other places. What was going on, like, in the Atlanta area at that time, and, kind of who were the unsung heroes? That's one thing. We talked about Bobby Hayes with Tank on the last episode, like one of the unsung heroes of that North Georgia area.
Yeah, Bobby was actually my first match in Wildside. Bobby Hayes was.
I remember.
He was my first match. Yep, you called it. That was my first match.
Heroin was the gimmick he was doing. It was the deal Steve Martin had come up with.
That's what it was.
Bobby was going to get a push, and he left to go work for Dusty. You know,
right.
Duty called. You got to do what you got to do.
Hey, man, you know, at that point in time, you know, there was like two places you wanted to be, and it was either working for, you know, for Bill, you know, up at Wildside or working for Dusty. And, you know, at that point, I was trying to get my foot in the door at either place. And so, I mean, I wrestled anywhere I could. You know, I hoarded myself out, basically, just to get my name out there. You know, Don Lewis actually, you know, as much shit as that guy catches, you know, he took a chance on me. Him and Murder One actually is the one that got my foot in the door with them, and took a chance on me one night because a guy no-showed, and I had maybe a month of training in me at that point, and did like a 2-minute squash match with this guy, and shit, we were off and running from that point on, man.
And now, so you really got a reputation as being a protege of Abdullah the Butcher, for those of you who are not wrestling people, that might be metalheads or whatever, that are fans of the Midnight Black Mass. Go look Abdullah the Butcher up if you haven't heard of him. He's one of the most frightening individuals in the history of wrestling, one of the true monsters. And Iceberg was known as a protege of Abdullah. He did a lot of stuff with him. Like, how did you first get hooked up with him? And, like, just kind of give us some insight on some of those experiences that ultimately, you know, knowing him got you hooked up with, like going to Japan, going to Puerto Rico, stuff like that.
How that happened, man, a guy local here was running a show, and he had booked Abdullah to come down, and I think he was going to wrestle Chick Donovan, and Doug Summers was going to be like the referee or something like that. And we had all like piled up in this limousine that the guy had rented, and you know, went up to Butcher's restaurant to pick him up or whatever, and walked in the door, and I mean, it was literally, I walked in the door, and he pulled me to the side, and he pulled the promoter to the side, and he said, "I'm not wrestling Chick tonight, I'm working with him." And he pointed to me, and it fucking terrified me. You know what I'm saying? like I was terrified of this motherfucker. You know, just even being in the business, you know, being smart to it, you know, at this point, I was still only, you know, six or 8 months in. You know, for him to, you know, just like, he took an interest in me immediately. And we sat and we had dinner together, and on the way back to Thomaston, he actually, we stopped at some convenience, we stopped somewhere at a convenience store or some shit like that. And he actually pulled me out of the limo and said, "You're going to ride with me and John." Honest John, his manager. John's been his manager for years. And I basically got, you know, an hour's worth of ride time, but, you know, 30 years worth of knowledge in an hour. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, sure.
And so, I mean, like, it was surreal. You know what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't believe, you know, my luck at that point in time. Like, you know, here's this guy that's, you know, he's made a name for himself, made a ton of money, and sold out venues all over the world, and he's interested in this, you know, at the time, 500-pound kid that had, you know, less than a year in the business. So, you know, I was just blown away with the fact that he had any kind of interest in me at all.
Still one of the only guys that you ever got that ever, you know, get a pinfall on. You know, not too many people ever got a pinfall on Abdullah. You look at his career, and you're one of them. So that tells you right there, I think, what he thought about you.
Yeah, man, and he did that. He did that for me in my hometown. He did that for me in my hometown. It wasn't that particular night, but several months later, we came back to Thomaston, and he put me over. And it's funny going back to that initial meeting with Butcher. That's the same night that I met New Jack. So, here I am in awe of these two guys that I've just watched kill people. You know what I'm saying? Just beat the shit out of them, bloody them up. And my first interaction with either, I wound up in the ring with both of them at the same time. So, yeah, I got my chair got busted the right way. You know what I'm saying? Hyman got ripped out of the frame, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, got ripped out like cranking a lawnmower.
I'm telling you, brother. I'm telling you, man, that was the most excited and the most nervous I'd ever been, in any point in my life. Seeing these two guys that I watched and admired and was just in awe of. Because hell, the very first ECW show that I ever saw, I was scanning the channels at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I come across what I thought was a wrestling show because I saw a fucking ring, but I also saw a damn U-Haul truck in this building, and I'm hearing Natural Born Killers playing over the stereo, over the house stereo. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And here comes New Jack flying off the top of this damn U-Haul truck, putting I can't remember who it was through his damn table. But that was my very first ECW experience was New Jack. So here I am involved in a spot with him and Abdullah. I'm just fucking marking out, and about to shit myself at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. I can only imagine being in that spot. Those guys terrified me just having to be around them. I got to know New Jack pretty well later, and he was pretty cool. Despite the thing that happened with him and my uncle, I try not to get involved in people's shit. Joe was still wanting to do business after that. So he was pissed about it. But Jack is just Jack. You put two, it was Joe's Joe. You put two of these cannons together, and things are gonna happen. And they're both tough guys. But I can only imagine. So you did all that with Abdullah. You got to go to Puerto Rico for that show. Did you team with One Man Gang, or you work with One Man Gang, something to that effect?
Yeah, Butcher been trying to get me in down there for a while. With Carlos's group, and he had given me the number to the office to call down, and Dutch Mantell was booking at the time, so I called the office and get Dutch on the phone, and I'd sent a video promo package down there, video pictures and all this bullshit, and so I'm on the phone with Dutch Mantell, which is another fucking mark-out moment because there's another guy that I watched growing up with the potential of going down and working for him for Carlos Colon, which was another guy that I saw, world class with Butcher and shit. So all this shit's going on. So I'm talking to Dutch, and I was like, so I said, did you get my package? And he was like, yeah, I got it. And he was like, he said you got a good look about you, but I can't bring you down. And I was like, not being disrespectful, I said, why not? And he said, because you'll kill my fucking baby face. And, just not, the mouth reacted before the mind did. I said, well, fucking make me a baby face then. You know what I'm saying? Hell, I want to come down there, But, he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't make me a baby face. So that kind of got stalled for a while. And then in January of 2000, it was during the Big Three Kings weekend down there. We got the chance to go. Me and a buddy of mine from Thomaston that wrestles Lunatic. I know you remember him, Dan. A lot of people probably won't, but me and him got the chance to go down. And it was cool, man. Like the first night, we didn't work. We just kind of sat back and watched. And then it's funny because we're sitting like kind of out where the crowd is, and the one-man gang comes by, and I forget who he was working with. He may have been tied up with Butcher, but he's like, fucking help me. You know what I'm saying? Like, want me to get involved. And, Butcher comes by, and he's like, don't you fucking help him. You know what I'm saying? It's like, he knew what kind of shit I would be in, had I done it.
Yeah. Don't want to piss the bookers off in Puerto Rico, I've heard.
No, especially not this guy, because, this is the guy that ended Brody's life. That's the guy that was booking at the time. And,
Vader.
Yeah. So, that's one guy I don't want to fucking piss off. He done killed fucking Bruiser Brody, who's another bad son of a bitch. I don't want him fucking with me. So, the next night, the irony of it is the next night, that's what's running through my fucking mind is I don't want this son of a bitch to kill me. But the next fucking night, we go into the baseball stadium down there. And that was the first spot that I worked. It was me and a gang working with Butcher and Carlos. And it's crazy because we were in the locker room where he killed Brody. And I've got some kind of weird tie to this shit because, like, I'm in the locker room, but, like, the day that he killed Brody was on my birthday. You know what I'm saying? So
there's some weird universal connection you have to that, yeah.
Yeah, man. So, there's like 13,000 people in this baseball stadium. And I can just remember before going out, like the Cuban assassin, like stopped me on the way out, and he's like, whatever you do, don't fucking stop. Don't talk shit to these people. Go straight to the fucking ring, because if you don't, they'll throw bricks or batteries or piss or whatever they can. They'll throw this shit at you. And they ain't going to fucking jail. You know what I mean? So I was like, all right, buddy. I'm good. So I went out because you had to go out through the dugout to the ring, which is in the middle of the fucking stadium. And that's probably the fastest my big ass has ever moved. Get the hell out of there before anybody could hit me with anything. So, but it was cool, man, because, I'm working alongside the gang, and I'm getting my ass carved up by Butcher and Carlos, who, back in the day you never would have thought would work together.
Right.
But, here they are, both taking turns whipping my ass. So.
Well, that's something you'll never forget, like the rest of your life, getting to work in front of 17,000 people, even with the one that can get Bruiser and Butcher and Carlos. That's absolutely
pretty
amazing. Yeah, we got about probably 15 minutes left. There's gonna be a little buzzer go off in your ear and my ear, not the people's ears at home, but it'll tell you something here in a second, so ignore that. That means we got about 15 minutes left on this recording. I can already tell we're coming back for a part 2.
Yeah, man. We get together and we can talk for days, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. It's dangerous. It's about to be an 8-parter.
Well, I know Tank was pretty long. So
yeah, he did 2-hour-long ones. So we would probably get maybe 2 least. Like, realistically, maybe more. Just depending on how long it goes.
Right.
So we covered Puerto Rico. Want to talk a little bit about Japan, and then we'll kind of end it like that was the early days of Wildside, and kind of moving from there. There's so much more after that. So it's going to be a minute, but so you did the Puerto Rico deal. Not too long after that, you actually got to go to Japan, and you ended up wrestling for Wing, and you actually you already got a pinfall on Abdullah. In Japan, you get a pinfall on Mr. Pogo. Tell us about that experience.
Oh, man. It's like, that's another guy that made me fucking nervous. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm sure for more ways, like, because I've just heard he's difficult in general, like, from Joe and other people that work him and said, that guy, he's just fucking rough. Yeah,
I mean, he is, and it's fucked up because, like, he didn't, I don't speak Japanese at all, and he spoke broken English, and I want to say that it was like fucking the Sandman who was, like, interpreting for us. Now, you fucking go figure that shit out. Me and Pogo, we're not speaking each other's language, and here the fucking Sandman is drunk trying to goddamn, let us know what the other one's thinking.
Sandman's got the answer, of course.
Absolutely. Absolutely he does. He got the answer for every fucking thing. But, no, man, they, again, that was something that Abdullah hooked me up with. That guy had come over to the States to try and, woo Butcher to come over to the promotion and work. And, like, literally, Butcher called me the day the guy was arriving and was like, have you got a promo package put together? And I was like, yeah, boss, you always told me to keep a couple handy. And he was like, all right, I need you to be at my restaurant in an hour. Well, it fucking takes me an hour to get there. So I haul ass to Atlanta to meet him at the restaurant so we can go and pick this guy up from the airport. And, we pick him up, take him back to the hotel, let him get his shit together, and, like, we go back to the restaurant, and, like, this whole time, Butcher's going, look, he wants me to come, but, his loyalties were to Baba and his wife and their company. And, Baba was already gone at that time, but he had already made a deal with Miss Baba to come over there and work for her. So his plan was to sell me to this guy, as a replacement for him, which I thought was pretty fucking amazing. You can't replace somebody like Butcher. You can't replace somebody like Jack. You can't replace somebody like Gypsy Joe, your uncle. You know what I'm saying? And here I am, not even maybe not even 3 years in the business, and he's gonna sell me to this guy as a replacement for him, and that's how it happened. I brought my shit up, I gave it to him. We sat around. He watched the video, and he was leaving the next day, and he basically said, let me sleep on it tonight. I'll make a couple phone calls. I'll meet with you tomorrow. He gave me a time to come back up. So at that point, we take him back, drop him off, and Butcher said, you're as good as going. Get your passport ready. So the next day I went up and met with him, and he gave me the date to come. So, at that point I'm scrambling, got to get a damn passport, got to get a visa, you know what I'm saying? All this shit that I absolutely know nothing about, going to a foreign country on my own, nonetheless. Nobody is going with me.
Yeah, sure.
So and that was like right at a month after 9/11. So you can imagine, like, how that flight went. You know, it was a damn 13-hour flight going over there, and you know, that was a scary time, man. You know, we were just a month into that shit, and it was a scary time. And luckily, I had met up with a couple of the good old boys, you know, Marines that were going over there, and one of them had some Valium, and he's like, "Here, buddy, you take this, and you know, you won't have to worry about this flight." So I pop a Valium there at the damn, you know, Hartsfield Airport, and you know, 13 hours later, I'm stepping foot on damn foreign soil, man. You know, not knowing, you know, what to expect. You know, and only meeting Mr. Ibaragi just the one time. You know, like, how the fuck I'm supposed to pick him out in the damn crowd? You know what I mean?
Right.
But luckily,
country doesn't have come to the big foreign city.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, yeah, I wouldn't have known that son of a bitch again. You know, if he'd have been standing in my face, you know, he could have just not ever said a fucking word to me ever again, and I wouldn't have known who the fuck he was. But you know, luckily he was there to do business, and I was, you know, a part of that business. So, you know, he didn't leave me stranded at the damn airport in Tokyo.
So that's always good. So how long did you stay over there? Like how many matches did you do, et cetera?
Dude, the first trip over, I swear to God, I was on an airplane longer than I was in the fucking country. That's a God's honest truth. I flew in straight from the airport to the hotel. They took me. I had time for, like, you know, just to like catch a small nap and get my shit together. And by 8 o'clock that night, I was at the damn show. It wasn't Kirkin Hall. I forget what the first show was, but I was at the show and they're telling me, you know, you're wrestling Mr. Pogo, and you're going over. I'm like, somebody got this shit fucked up. You know, who the fuck am I? You know, I'm coming into this guy's house, you know, into his company, and I'm going over on him for a shot. Clean, you know, well, not clean, but fucking Tiger Chung Lee, you know, he helped me get the win, but you know, they put me over, you know, the top guy in the company, you know, and I was just in awe of the whole situation. Yeah, I was in awe of the whole situation. You know, it's, I walk in and you know, it's like, here you go, here's our top guy on a silver platter, and you're gonna beat him. You know what I mean? You know, not knowing whether or not I was coming back or not. That was, and they didn't even know that they were gonna bring me back. And you know, we had our match, and it was the drizzling shits because yeah, he's difficult. He didn't want to do anything. He didn't want to take anything. But you know, I tried to make him look as best I could, and you know, because he was doing me the favor, and you know, he had me flying all over that fucking building. You know what I'm saying? Oh,
I'm sure he liked to tear up a building.
Oh yeah, man. You know, and we damn sure tore it up. We damn sure tore it up. I mean, I don't know how many rows of fucking chairs we took out, but you know, I was flying through it, man. I was living the dream.
And so did you come back after that one, after beating him, or how did they do that?
Yeah, I think it was about maybe a month later, they brought me back, and we were gonna do this. We were gonna do this angle where I came in, and the second time around, I wrestled Jason the Terrible. I wrestled Jason, and let's see, he beat me. I beat Pogo. Jason beat me, and Pogo beat Jason. So they were going to lead up to a three-way with us the third time over. But the third time never came around because the company folded after that.
Damn it.
The second time over, I was there for 8 days the second time, and wrestled 3 times. One time at Kirkin Hall, which, that was like a big mark-out moment for me. That was, besides the Tokyo Dome, Kirkin Hall was like the damn Madison Square Garden of fucking, Japan. So, just to get to work.
Famous arena.
That was a dream come true. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that insight on that. A lot of fans don't know what it's like. I think you gave a good description of what it's like to be, somebody just from a small southern town that, ends up in Japan somehow and a good outlay of the experiences there. But moving on from Japan, we got looking at here like a little under 10 minutes, so we're going to just dip our toe, the tip of the iceberg, pun intended.
There we go.
The Wildside. Wildside was on TV in Atlanta. That was the place where everybody was trying to get in, and you came in a little bit in the year 2000, did a couple of spots, and talk about just getting into the company, how that started, how you got your spot, and how all that came about just initially as far as busting your Wildside cherry, so to speak.
Yeah, man. You hadn't been long gotten there, and Tank had come in, before I did, and so I was bugging the piss out of Bill Barons, emailing Bill like, hey, me and Tank, we've been teaming together up in Chattanooga or East Ridge, up at UEW, make a pretty good tag team. But at that point he had Tank was teaming with White Trash, I think, so that wasn't meant to be at that time. But I met Steve Martin initially. Steve still had, I think Steve may have still had the company or still had a big control of the company. And Steve loved what I did, because he loved, what everybody refers to as garbage wrestling, which is, what I made my name doing, But Steve liked me, and Steve wanted to bring me in, but Bill had other ideas at the time. I don't think it was a matter that Bill didn't want to bring me in. It was Bill wanted to bring me in at the right time.
Yeah, well, there was a point where you were just filling a spot when you always should have been presented as something special, because an attraction like you is an attraction. It's a special thing, and if you're just treated as another guy, you don't come across as that. Right.
And so, as you know, I came in, I had those couple of, matches where I just filled in, for a TV spot or whatever. But I got a call I think it was one Thursday afternoon. Jimmy Rave called me, and he said, are you working anywhere Saturday night? And I think I had a booking somewhere, I forget where. And I was like, yeah, I'm, supposed to be working at so-and-so. And he was like, how would you like to come do TV? And, it was like when a fucking dog hears a smash, their damn ears perked up. I'm like, TV? You know what I mean? I was like, hell yeah, I want to come work fucking TV. Who am I going to be working with? And he said, look, he said, I don't know the details. He said, but here's Bill's number to call Bill. So I called Bill up, and what had happened was Steve Corino, who was the NWA World Champion at the time, was supposed to have been coming in. And for whatever reason, Steve wasn't going to be able to make it. And they needed somebody to work Scotty Rand, who was the champion at the time. And So I'm sitting there on the phone with Bill going, fucking TV, and I'm going to wrestle the champion. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, I want to come in. So, I came in, and they put me with Jeff. Jeff and Big Beavis Brown. And we're gonna put me in the elite. And at the time, I think Jeff had his doubts about it. Jeff was a little iffy because there for the longest time he'd send me out with Big Biz. But we did an in-ring spot where Jeff basically took everything, damn near including the kitchen sink, and just beat the shit out of me right in the middle of the damn ring. And that's where the whole no pain train came in from. Because, he beat my ass and bloodied me up before I ever wrestled a match. I'm getting the hell beat out of me by my damn manager. So that was in the first half of TV, and then the second half I wrestled Scotty. And that's one of my favorite matches still because I never worked with Scotty before. And we jailed, and he made me look like $1 million, man. I mean, Scotty Wren, God bless him. And if he listens to this, thank you, Scotty. I appreciate it. You got me my fucking job.
Yeah, you did, absolutely. And Wildside was known for the junior heavyweights, primarily, but we had some of the best damn heavyweights anywhere in addition to that, so it really made the whole package.
Yeah, man. I mean, Scotty and David and Prince Justice, abyss to people that didn't follow Wildside. Stone Mountain, God bless him. I hated working with the guy, but he was a big son of a bitch, and
he sold tickets, man.
So I mean, they really had they had a hell of a heavyweight division, but like you said, at the time it was more or less based around the junior division because, you had AJ and, Slimmy who was, just getting into it and all of these guys, man, that were just Jason Cross, who was just all doing this tremendous shit, Adam Jacobs, John Phoenix, and I'm sitting there going, how do I fit in with these guys? How am I going to fit in with this group of talent? Because they were the best at what they did. And I would put them up against anybody who was doing it at that time.
They were. And the answer is you do something different, and that's exactly what you did. And, you did the first deal with Scotty. You actually left and did the Japan deal, but I wanted to talk about it before we moved on to Wildside. And then you came back, rebranded. Jeff G really put his whole machine behind you then. He finally decided, Jeff G. Bailey, that is, that you were going to be his number one deal. And you guys made magic, and we're going to have to cut it off right there because we're 2 minutes left from the end. But that's what we're going to pick up next time is the whole run as Iceberg with Jeff G. Bailey and just all of the craziness that you guys accomplished there. Lots of good reflections, I think. Absolutely, man. All right, man. Well, it has been fantastic. Thank you for joining us. And man, we're only getting started. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah, man. I'm stoked, dude. I'm raring to go with this thing.
Outstanding, man. Well, I will get up with you on the next time that we'll record part 2, but be on the lookout for it this week. And thank you for joining the Midnight Black Mass. Keep one foot in the gutter, one fist in the gold. This is the Rev. I'm out.
All right, brother.